Oh. Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratascharteshvabhignaswarat Tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayaha Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparerishwaraha Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubitat Kshanat. For 1 minute, we will invoke toughness and evoke hope. Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. One is only powerful if they use that power to protect the powerless. If one is powerful yet does not use that power to protect the powerless, then one is not powerful. That is simply namesake. Our course is a form of engaging in the Pancha Mahayajnas. There are 5 great dedications that we have to engage in. The second, and this is a big subject, I'll only focus on the second, is known as the Pancha Mahayajna, or the Mahayajna towards our Pitras. Our Pitras is our family, our lineage. We owe a debt to our family, to our lineage. Everything we are, everything we have is because of them, yes? How do you dedicate yourself to this debt? By learning and teaching. To learn a language, to learn a value, and to teach a language, to teach a value, we are learning Srimad Bhagavatam. And we have to not teach this, and you can, but to feel this, to be this. If we don't learn Srimad Bhagavatam, then this scripture, this community, will slowly be dismantled. And all of you are ensuring this doesn't happen. Everyone will always study Ramayana. Everyone will always study Bhagavad Gita. Everyone will not always study Srimad Bhagavatam. We are deep in the Milky Ocean. Fill in the blank. The more you work, the more you blank work. The more you work, the more you blank work. Any ideas? Love, like, will, efficient, appreciate. You're all such wonderful students. Typically when I ask people this, they say hate. The more you work, the more you hate work. The correct, everything you've shared is correct, but the most correct is will. The more you work, the more you will work. Have you seen that in your life? If you're a good worker, are you asked to do more or less? So if you don't want to be asked, then be a bad worker. And I share this because the Devas have approached Bhagavan Brahma, and Bhagavan Brahma has approached Bhagavan Narayana. And Bhagavan Narayana said, go and work. I will guide you. This is what you need to do. You have to work though. And the Devas, the Devas did start their work. And soon after, they found that it was actually Bhagavan Narayana who was doing all of the work. Yes. That's all we have to do. Start and watch how he does the rest. The more you remember Bhagavan Narayana, the more you will give him your responsibilities. The Devas were able to appreciate that all that was happening in the Milky Ocean was Bhagavan Narayana. So they gave their responsibility to him. What this means is they gave up their worry. They gave up their anxiety. The Asuras did not. They felt we are doing, and so we deserve. The Devas didn't feel we are doing, so they never felt we deserve that worry, that anxiety. At the end of the churning of the Milky Ocean, and I'll remind you of this, one of the messages that Rishi Shuka tells Raja Parikshita, one who sacrifices for themselves, for their family, for their friends, all of that is asat. And asat here doesn't mean unreal. What this means is inefficient. All one sacrifices for Bhagwan, for their creator, is sat. That is efficient. Because most often when we live for ourselves, our family, our friends, we don't feel the presence of Bhagwan in them. But if you are sacrificing for Bhagwan, that's most efficient because that's the truth. And the visualization shared, when you sacrifice for yourself, for your family, for your friends, it's like watering leaves. When you sacrifice for Bhagwan, you have that feeling, that bhava, it's like watering the roots. Think about when you water a plant, you may spray a leaf, but you water those roots, correct? Okay. Bhagavan Shiva has just consumed the Kalakuta, the halahala. Now that the poison is out, what comes next? We are on the 8th skanda, the 8th adhyaya, the 8th shloka. 888. It happened to work out like that. Tataschavira bhut sakshat Shri Rama Bhagavat Para Ranjayanti Disha Kantya Vidyut Saudamani Yatha. And then came from that ocean, in a most direct way, Rama, who is also known as Shri, who loves Bhagwan. And when she came, she was like lightning, and she was spreading light in every direction, blinding the suras, the asuras. Okay? So that's the literal meaning. But she wasn't the first to come out of the Milky Ocean. There's a build-up to Sri Devi coming. How many of you know confidently all that has come from the Milky Ocean? You've read a little bit, you've watched a little bit. There is a literal meaning to all that I'm sharing, and we will think about that, but more so the implied meaning. As I share these details with you, please write them down. This is the most accurate narration of the churning of the Milky Ocean and exactly what comes out that you will come across. I'm reading the Sanskrit in a most direct way. Number 1, Kalakuta, which we invested a lot of time in thinking. This poison went to Bhagavan Shiva. Number 2, Kamadhenu. Kamadhenu is a cow that can produce whatever you wish. And this was to the rishis. This was directed to the rishis. And quickly some Vedanta behind this. When one completes their experience at the Gurukula, there's a samskara called Samavartana, which means I remember my past to be grateful for my future. Samavartana. It's like I remember my parents and I feel stronger moving forward. Yes? And the technical practice of Samavartana is, as one goes and immerses themselves in the world, all that they earn, a portion of that goes back to the Gurukula. Because that potency came from that experience. That's why Kamadhenu goes to the rishis. How were these suras and asuras able to do anything? Because of what they've learned from the rishis, yes? So the first giving goes to them. Number 3 is Uchchaishrava. Uchchaishrava is a divine horse. And this went to the asuras. Number 4, Airavata. Airavata is a divine elephant. And this went to the suras. Number 5 is the Kaustubha. The Kaustubha is a divine jewel. And this, without having to be distributed anywhere, went directly to Bhagavan Narayana. Kaustubha to Bhagavan Narayana. Number 6 is the Parijata. The Parijata is a divine tree. Anything you wish of this tree manifests. Similar to Kamadhenu, this went to the Suras. Number 7 is the Apsaras, the divine dancers, the Apsaras, and these went to the Suras. And now number 8 is Rama. Rama is the one who revels in Rama. Rama means Bhagwan Rama. Rama means joy. When she manifested from this ocean, she had one sankalpa: I will go to the one who doesn't want me. Awesome, no? It's like the original arranged marriage. I will go to the one who doesn't want me. And she looked around, and the asuras were looking at her beauty. The suras were looking at her wealth. Bhagwan Narayana was actually sleeping. And Swami Tejamananda said he was sleeping with his upper cloth over his face. So deep sleep. And she saw he was the only one who didn't want her. And so she put this garland around him. He got married while he was sleeping. It was legal back in the day. I don't know if it works anymore. There's some of the depth in this transaction, and I love it. Going to the one who doesn't want me, only someone who's happy doesn't want anything, correct? So she was looking to be with the one who's happy. We should too, no? When we're around happy people, we become happier. And this is shown by him sleeping. Whatever's coming out of this ocean, I'm not interested in this. I am happy. Yet, Bhagwan Narayana's most dynamic. All of this is happening because of him, yet he's sleeping. And that's exactly what Brahman is, the one who's unmoving, yet most moving. When Devi marries Bhagwan Narayana, she stays closest to him, so she's always on his chest. That's the history behind this marriage. Number 9 is Varuni. Show me Varuni. Varuni is alcohol. And though the suras were looking at it, Bhagwan Narayana gave them some kadai. And so this went to the asuras, Varuni. And number 10 is Dhanvantari, who came with the Amrita. So both are 10. People always ignore the Dhanvantari part and focus on the Amrita part. Dhanvantari is the one who propagated Ayuhu Veda, which becomes Ayurveda. The one who taught how to be healthy, how to live fully. So Dhanvantari comes first, really. When one is healthy and living fully, what will come with that? Amrita. Amrita means death. Amrita means deathlessness or fearlessness. So this came, and we'll pause here because lots happens when Dhanvantari and Amrita came. Did you record all 10 that came? Very quickly again. Kalakuta, Kamadhenu, Uchchaishava, Airavata, Kaustubha, Parijata, Apsara, Rama, Varuni, and Amrita. So now you know, factually, 10 materials came from the churning of the Milky Ocean. Okay, let's tune into some Vedanta, and then we'll go back to the Katha. The grandeur one's pursuit of nectar, the grander one's experience of poison will be. Think about this in your own life. The greater your aspiration, the greater the difficulties, yes? If your aspirations are low, the resistance to those aspirations are going to be low also. And this is why the first material that came was not ordinary poison, but extraordinary poison. Because the churning of the Milky Ocean is not for Airavata or Varuni. This is for Amrita. And Bhagavan Narayana, being on both ends, with the Suras and Asuras, keeps on encouraging them, don't lose track. Do not succumb to Kamadenu, to Parijata. Focus on the ends. And this is exactly what I shared with all of you in our meditation and life class. As one becomes more adept at contemplation, you may have experiences of divine sights and divine sounds. And what do you need to do? Watch them. Simply watch them, because if you don't watch them, you will get sidetracked. Just like the Suras and Asuras have. If you can remain committed, Amrita, fearlessness will come. And coming back to the beginning, the churning of the Milky Ocean, do you remember what they put into the Milky Ocean first, before the churning? They put all of those herbs, yes? The vegetables, the roots. What that symbolizes for us is scripture. Through the study of the scriptures, does a churning or a contemplation happen? Any teacher, any organization that is not revolving around the scripture, you will get maybe Airavata, maybe you'll get Apsara, but Amrita can never come then. So the action item for us, ensure you're with a teacher, with an organization that is taking on the intellect. Not the breath, Kriya, not the mind, mantra. It is the intellect. The intellect is where the ego lives. The intellect feels I am the doer only when vidya comes and takes on that intellect that you are not the doer. You should feel you're an instrument. You should feel you're an observer. And finally, to just be. Take on your intellect is what our message is. Now that the Amrita has come, what happened? We move on to our next shloka. 8th skanda, 9th adhyaya, the 27th shloka. 8, 9, 27. Pita praye mrite devihi bhagava loka bhavanaha pashyatam asurendranam swam rupam jagrahe harihi. After the devas had drunk that Amrita, then Bhagavan Narayana revealed his absolute form. So now you know he's in a disguise. And after that had happened, the Asuras were enraged. So, how come Bhagavan Narayana was in a disguise? Once Dhanvantari had come with that Amrita, immediately the Asuras went and took that. Now remember, they had a contract, yes? When the Amrita comes, we will share this. And then what did the Asuras do? They went and took this from Dhanvantari, and then they started fighting amongst each other. I want to drink this first. I want more. You don't deserve any of this. When this stealing and fighting was happening, the Devas, who remembered Bhagwan, gave their responsibility to Bhagwan, they asked for help. And Bhagwan Narayana manifested as the one who's like Shri. Like Shri. Not Shri, but like Shri. In all of my study of Srimad Bhagavatam, I actually never came across the word Mohini. Did not come across the word Mohini. I think that's an add-on that it came up. Mohini was the name of the actress in that movie with Anil Kapoor, no? Tezab. Wasn't it called Tezab? See how that all works out. Where there's poison, there's Mohini. So he manifests as this most attractive being. We don't know her name, but she's like Shri. And all of a sudden, the Asuras, who were fighting over this Amrita, now they were spellbound by her. And I wish you could read the English. The English translation is so humorous. Here's one of the points in the English translation. This is what they say to her. "O lass of handsome thighs." After you leave this class, you should go to your spouse or go to a friend and say, "Oh, lass of handsome thighs." If someone said that to me, I couldn't help but laugh. Are you insulting me? Are you praising me? And they have this dialogue with her. And she says, "I will help you, but on the agreement that you will not question what I'm doing." And when someone is seduced, when someone is hypnotized, they'll do anything, yes? You've heard me share this before. What is the greatest joke in life? I have read the terms and agreements, yes? You know when Firefox or Apple gives you something new and you have to click on that button, do you ever read those terms and agreements? The Asuras didn't either. So they give her this Amrita. And she lines up the Suras and she lines up the Asuras. And she gives portions to the Suras. And what does she give to the Asuras? Her smile. Maya is often described as a smile, no? So she keeps smiling and winking at them and giving the Suras that Amrita. Now, one of the Asuras happened to be paying more attention to all of this. Who was that? His name is Swarbhanu, who's commonly known as Rahu. Swarbhanu sees this trickery, so he disguises himself as a Sura and goes between Surya and Chandra. And a small portion is given to Swarbhanu, and Surya and Chandra realized that he's a fake, so they look to Bhagwan Narayana, and Bhagwan Narayana's discus cuts off his head. Now the Amrita has already gone into his head, but not to the body, so the body dies, but the head lives on. And it is from this mythology that we have this idea of an eclipse. That Rahu, the face of Rahu, angry at Surya and Chandra, eats the sun. But can't eat the sun forever, right? Because there's no body. It goes in the mouth, out the neck. That's why an eclipse always has an end, no? So there's a detail for you. So now some Vedanta to wrap up this katha. I'm reminding you again, we'll call her Mohini, even though that name is not mentioned. She is like Shri, but she is not Shri. For those who have a propensity, those who are susceptible to moha, they're confused. Don't they confuse pleasure to be peace? Yes? When you sleep in, when you get a bonus, whatever is pleasurable, we feel that's peace, but it's not. It's not even like peace. But we're confused. So we make it feel like it's peace. Yes? Mohini, moha, only works on those who are tamasic and rajasic. Those who are lazy and aggressive, because Mohini never worked on these suras, on the rishis, because they're sattvic. They're highly sattvic. You know that you're a sura, that you're a rishi, when you're not easily confused. You're not susceptible to peer pressure. That everyone else is doing it, I want to do it too. Moha makes us feel like we've found peace, but we never have that experience, which is why we keep looking for this again and again and again. One becomes an extrovert. And coming back to how I began this morning's discourse, the asuras never relied on Bhagwan. They never remembered him. They never gave him their responsibilities. So they were only interested in the phala, in what they will get. And we all know, we're all students of Bhagavad Gita, that one has no right to the phala, one only has right to the karma. That's what the suras did. They remembered Bhagwan, they relied on Bhagwan, so they were not lost in the phala. When someone likes and loves what they do, that is their karma. If the phala comes, good. If the phala doesn't come, good. I told you, there's a literal meaning to the churning of the Milky Ocean, and much deeper than that is the implied meaning. Now, this whole lovely portion of Srimad Bhagavatam will be completed with the most interesting narration happening with Bhagwan Shiva. That Bhagwan Shiva wants to know about Mohini. And what happens with that? Obviously, I'm building this up that I'm not going to tell you this right now. That you'll have to wait for our next class. Oh.